this video, I'm going to share with you what it's been like having Shiva as my higher self. Now, I do want to say real quick, I realize how this could sound a little crazy to some people, so if it doesn't resonate, feel free to scroll on. But up until 2022, I didn't even know who Shiva was. It wasn't until this blue being paid me a visit with 4 arms, blue skin, and a cobra on his shoulder, and started performing a healing on me as he floated above the ground in my garage. And after looking into the eyes of the cobra, I was shown that he was my higher self. Real quick, what exactly is a higher self? This is the way I like to think of it. Now, we all have a higher self that our soul came from, but in this example, I'm going to use mine. So you can see, the top represents Shiva in the astral realm, the spirit realm. The dude in the middle represents a human being on planet Earth. Now, humans need a soul. So you can see Shiva up in the cosmos wants to come down and be a human. Now you can see the human and Shiva's energy have blended. However, there still is a larger version of that aspect still remaining in the cosmos that you can connect with. And everyone has a higher self, and everyone came from that higher self. Now, before I go on, I'll just say I've received comments over the years, people saying gods and angels don't incarnate into human physical vessels. Well, Jesus did. And I've personally interacted with the physical vessel of Archangel Raphael, the queen of the underworld. I know that Archangel Michael and Lucifer have a physical vessel in this reality right now. A lot of people are thinking that back in the day when Jesus was walking around was biblical times, but there's more ascended masters now than, ever. There's many more. I met my twin flame, her higher self is Kalima. So there's many, big names down here right now. So what is it like having Shiva as my higher self? Well, I'd have to start by saying it's been very interesting. I've been making social media content since 2017, sharing with you guys things like how I tried to exit this reality in 2014, and if it wasn't for Archangel Michael appearing, I wouldn't be here. Or the 2 visitations that I had from the soul of Jesus in 2020 and 2021. Or the visitation that I had from Shiva in 2022. Over the years, I've heard many comments saying how blessed I was, how fortunate I was to have these experiences. Even though I do appreciate it because I know it's coming from a good place, there's a part of me that's like, I wouldn't relive this life for anything in the cosmos. So it's safe to say that it's been a bumpy ride along the way. Because in 2022 I had absolutely no idea who Shiva was. In my mind, I was just shown that this 4-armed blue being with a cobra on his shoulder was my higher self. I had no clue that, he was involved with all these Hindu teachings. And it's taken me 3 years of doing research and gathering information and working with the Akashic Records to, I want to say fully grasp what it means to have Shiva as my higher self. But, I probably haven't even fully grasped that concept yet, but I've gained a higher level of understanding, that's safe to say. But after getting a better understanding of who and what Shiva actually is, I started to experience a feeling of loneliness. I was being told that Shiva is basically one of, if not the most oldest being in the universe. And so I was connecting with Shiva on a daily basis, asking him over and over. I'm like, are we really the oldest being? Are we the top of the top? Is that true? And after multiple days or weeks of asking this, I had an out-of-body experience where Shiva showed me just how, massive and vast and old this universe and reality actually is, and that there was indeed beings older than Shiva. However, Shiva's kind of top dog at this neck of the woods, and I know this goes against traditional teachings, but I've been shown what I've been shown, and that's what I'm going to go off of. Another thing that's kind of interesting, a little out there, a little crazy, but one thing that I've noticed is that, if I fall into a state of despair, there's a possibility that we might experience an earthquake. It's happened a couple times. Very first collective return to sender that I did, the next thing I knew, as soon as I finished, seconds after, my house started shaking and we had a bit of an earthquake, and I was told that Shiva was doing a bit of a cosmic dance. I've got to see firsthand just the amount of spiritual protection that comes with Shiva being your higher self. Working with a shaman for many years, she decided to start sending me black magic. Ended up having one of her own children jump off a building. Had a woman try to get me into a car accident. She got into a car accident. Had another woman try to get me into a car accident. Almost did. She ended up losing her life in a car accident. And her soul actually appeared to me. And the one thing I'll take away from that experience forever was the amount of fear in her eyes. It was like she was in a state of shock, understanding who she was coming up against and what the repercussions for that were going to be. Another woman tried to get me to have a heart attack. She died of a heart attack. There's a fat, short, little male fucker in the Philippines. I'm kind of curious how he's doing these days. I'm sure there's many more that I don't know about, many more to come in the future. I'm kind of concerned about this one woman on my social media. She's been sending me black magic, or fuck energy as I like to call it these days. But with 3 kids at home, I hope this woman pulls her head out of her ass sooner than later. Because to be honest, I'm not really a fan of how return to senders work, I think it should take the sender out, not a loved one, but hey, I didn't make the rules. It's interesting. You'd think there'd be a lot of positives to having Shiva as your higher self, but when you know what Shiva plans on doing to this universe and many other universes and other beings, like Archangel Metatron, sometimes finding peace before you go to bed can be a challenge. You also seem to get the attention of blacked out SUVs, helicopters, and weird shit flying over your house. Finding out Shiva is my higher self, it's been interesting to say the least. When I look back at my life, I think, wow, really doesn't matter who you are when you incarnate down here. We all go through a state of spiritual amnesia, forget who we are, and our goal down here is to remember and live accordingly. Over 62.5 thousand followers on TikTok. Greatly appreciate the support. Would love to see you over at YouTube at Saved by an Angel, Instagram at AshSam888. That's all I got. Smash the like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.